So, welcome to my second video clip, and today I am going to talk about literature review. The literature review comes immediately after your rationale. Some people suggest that after your rationale, you should already pose your question. But I would like to actually talk about the literature review because I think you need that in order to formulate a very good question. So, what is a literature review? Well, in a way, one can think about it as a first step that you take in order to get into the field that you have identified in your rationale. Remember, I mentioned that in your last paragraph or your last sentence, you would say that you are working in this particular field, whether it is on religion education or teachers and religious education, if you want to be more specific, or religious authority in Islam. Once you've identified that field, which consists of key terms, then you start preparing yourself for the dominant discussion, or at least the raging discussion that is going on among academics. Now, you can only think about a literature review where you are beginning to listen in to a very special discussion. And this is the academic discussion in the social science and humanities on the topic that you have chosen. Specifically, you would like to choose religious studies, but sometimes you might find some interesting things said in anthropology. But remember, it must be the field that you have chosen, and you start listening to the people that are there. And you want to basically listen to them. You want to identify the major ideas that are going through there. You want to identify the most important people who are talking about this field and what they are saying. So think of yourself as coming into a special salon or a special living room or a kind of a seminar room, and you're listening to each one. You listen very carefully to what they say. You record what they say. You organize. You think about who are the people who are agreeing with each other, who are the people who are not agreeing with each other. You think about the people who are standing out, who don't want to listen to anybody else. And you make a map. You set up a map for what they have done, and then you start thinking about what you have to say. So as a first step, perhaps, let me suggest to you some important steps that you might want to take about this. So you start looking for you're looking for the articles and books that have been written in this area. You are looking for academic articles. You're not necessarily looking for things in the newspaper. You're not only looking for things on the internet. I mean, you might find academics who have published only on the internet, that's fine, but you must make sure that there are certainly peer-reviewed articles, peer-reviewed books that have made some kind of a substantial contribution. And in the field of religious studies, I would suggest, and within UCT, I think that you should begin to look at two important websites. One of them comes from what is called ATLA, that comes within the EBSCO program, and the other is the JSTOR program. Type in your keywords and look to see what has been written and start making a list. The first step is actually just making a list of the people. I would also recommend that you look at encyclopedias. When you look for a recent encyclopedia in your field, you look for the title, you look for an entry directly related to your title. You might find one there, or you might find very close to it. You look for that because the encyclopedia article have been written by an expert. And if it's a longish entry, you might even get a very clear idea of the field that you want to look at. The encyclopedia article might also have an interesting list of references that you might want to borrow from there. The second thing that you look at, at least maybe I should say the third thing that you look at, is you look for edited books, very specialized edited books recently, that have been written recently. Look at them, collect them, and put them into your list. So how many should you have? You should more or less start with 30 or 35 books, articles, encyclopedia articles, edited books, edited articles that are directly related to your work. And then you start reading them. So let me recap. I want to talk next time about how you're going to read them and organize them. So let me recap. So I think that a literature review is a way of you entering a particular discussion that has been going on for a number of years. You want to know the people who are participating in the discussion. You want to know the leaders of that discussion. You want to know the major ideas that are presented there. And so the first step you would do is start collecting the material. When you look under JSTOR or you look under Atla, the same person is writing on the topic that you are looking at, then you particularly pay attention to that and you try to get everything that he or she has written for you. So if you start making a list, make sure that you use something like EndNote in order to collect that. EndNote is a very powerful instrument. You can automatically import articles and the full references from scholar.google, or you can import it directly from books.google as well, and they come directly into your EndNote and you organized your list. So give yourself a bit of time to just simply to collect. Don't start reading it, but you must already start identifying the fact that, oh, this person keeps on coming up. This person has written a lot about the field. Everybody is sort of, sometimes you might even have the person's name in the title, then you know that you should be looking at something like that. So enter the discussion. Don't be afraid. Listen to what has been said and prepare yourself for making your own statement. I think the literature review is encapsulated